The Indiana Fever have 48 hours to fix something they already proved they can't fix. The Washington Mystics tip-off at Gainbridge for Indiana's home opener, Friday, May 15th. 5 bodies on Indiana's bench, and last Friday in Dallas, not one of them gave Kelsey Mitchell a minute of rest in the second half. So when Mitchell rose for the three that would have tied it with 2.4 seconds left, her legs didn't have it. She finished with 30. Led all scorers in the game, Indiana and Dallas both. The box score will tell you Kelsey Mitchell was the offense. The box score won't tell you she was the only one carrying it. Caitlin Clark is the engine. Everyone knows that. But Mitchell is the piece fans don't celebrate. The one who's been in Indiana since 2018. The one who stayed when nobody else did. The one Herb Simon's franchise paid $1.4 million this offseason to be the second name on the marquee. That number, $1.4 million, is the first supermax contract ever signed under the WNBA's new collective bargaining agreement, ratified this past March. 20% of Indiana's entire cap. The biggest acknowledgment the franchise has ever given her. And here's the part people miss. The contract came without the roster to back it up. Look at what Friday night actually asked of her. Mitchell played the entire fourth quarter. She played the bulk of the third. By the closing minutes, she was running on muscle memory and not much else. The bench behind her, Ty Harris, who came in on a vet deal during the offseason, Justine Pisat, a rookie, Natasha Hines-Allen, brought in on the cheap to plug a front court slot. That's the depth chart sitting behind Indiana's starters. None of them got the minutes that would have kept Mitchell's legs fresh for the buzzer. Stephanie White is the head coach, but a head coach can only rotate the bodies she's been handed, and the bodies White was handed came straight from Herb Simon's front office. Now here's where this gets uncomfortable for Indianapolis. 3 weeks before the opener, the Fever made a choice. They released Odyssey Sims, a veteran guard who'd been on the Indiana roster, and signed Harris instead. On Friday night in Dallas, Sims wore a Wings jersey and dropped 20 points against the team that let her walk. Harris gave Indiana fewer minutes than the moment demanded. That's the trade Indiana made, not in a press release, but in a salary line. Pinched pennies, added a depth piece who didn't show up when the game was on the line. And the player they cut ended Indiana's opener with a Dallas win that should have been Mitchell's. Mitchell scored 30. Sims dropped 20. The math wasn't supposed to look like that. Kelly Krauskopf runs basketball operations for Herb Simon's front office. She signed off on the bench Indiana brought to Dallas. Her staff decided that a player putting up 30 points in Indiana's WNBA opener didn't need a veteran guard to lean on. Krauskopf's boss, Herb Simon, signs the checks and signs off on the philosophy. This isn't a hot take. Mitchell earned her supermax. Aaliyah Boston signed the largest contract in WNBA history, locked in through 2029. Sophie Cunningham was re-upped. The stars got paid. Paying the stars and building a bench around them are two different jobs. Herb Simon's front office handled one of them. They walked away from the other. And Friday night in Dallas, the bill came due. Think about what that contract actually says out loud. It's not just a paycheck. It's the franchise telling Mitchell, on paper ratified under the new CBA, that she's the second pillar of this thing. That when Clark needs the ball moved, Mitchell moves it. That when the defense collapses on Clark, Mitchell takes the shot. That when the buzzer's about to go off and Indiana needs 3 points, the ball ends up in her hands. That's what 20% of the cap is supposed to buy. 20% saying, we believe in you, we need you, we're building around you. But you can't build around a guard who never sits down. You can't ask the second pillar to carry the offense and cover the bench's failures and chase wings shooters around screens for 38 straight minutes and make the buzzer beater. Pick 3 of those. Maybe pick 2. Asking for all 4. That's what Indiana asked Mitchell to do on opening night. Mitchell's contract said, we'll give you what you need to be the player we paid you to be. Friday night said something different. Stephanie White said it out loud on Media Day. 60% of the cap to 3 players. That's how Indiana's head coach explained the roster construction. In her own words, on the record, 60%. Boston, Mitchell, and a third pillar depending on how you count it. 3 names on 60 cents of every dollar the Fever can spend. That leaves 40% for 9 other roster spots. For Hines-Allen on a cheap vet deal. For Harris, brought in cheap. For Pisat on rookie scale. For the bench that didn't give Mitchell a single break on Friday. This wasn't a coaching problem. This wasn't a cap problem either. Not really. Indiana made a choice about how to allocate the cap, and other front offices made different choices. Dallas, the team that beat Indiana on opening night, built their bench in part by claiming the guard Indiana cut. That's the same cap, the same offseason, the same league rules. Different choice. Amber Cox said on April 29th, quote, "Decisions impacting what we need to do against a hard cap in the future." That came from Indiana's own front office at Media Day. They knew exactly what they were choosing. They chose it anyway. And the next 48 hours don't get easier. The Washington Mystics come to Gainbridge on Friday night for Indiana's home opener. The Seattle Storm follows Sunday afternoon. 2 games in 3 days. Same building, same crowd, same scoreboard pressure, and the same 5 bench bodies sitting behind Mitchell. She'll play. The fans will count on it. The team will count on it. A 30-point box score in Dallas guaranteed that Washington's scouting report opens with her name and a yellow highlight. Seattle's will say the same thing on Sunday. Meanwhile, Herb Simon owns another franchise in Indianapolis, the Pacers. The men's team that plays out of the same arena, owned by the same office, signed off on by the same man. The Pacers have rotation depth. The Pacers have a payroll that goes deep into the luxury tax. The Pacers have a bench full of veterans who've been paid to be exactly what they are. Veterans who close games when the starters need rest. That's what Simon writes checks for on the men's side. That's not what Simon writes checks for on the women's side. The Fever don't have that luxury tax bill. The Fever have Mitchell and 5 bodies, hoping she doesn't run out of legs before Sunday afternoon. Kelsey Mitchell was drafted 2nd overall by Indiana in 2018, 1 pick behind Aja Wilson. Every game of her professional career has been in Indiana, every season, every roster cycle, every front office regime. This franchise has hung 1 championship banner, Tamika Catchings, 2012. Mitchell came to Indiana 6 years later, and she's been trying to help add a second one ever since. When the franchise sat at the bottom of the standings, Mitchell stayed. The Caitlin Clark draft pick reshaped the entire identity around someone else. Mitchell stayed. And when supermax conversations opened up under the new CBA, Mitchell was the first name Indiana reached for. She's the loyalist. She didn't ask for a trade. She took the deal Indiana offered without leveraging a Toronto Tempo or a Dallas Wings offer that probably would have come. And the franchise repaid that loyalty by leaving her on the floor through the entire 4th quarter of an opener. Indiana lost by 3. So the question for every Fever fan watching Friday night against the Mystics is this: does Herb Simon's front office plan to give Kelsey Mitchell the bench her contract says she earned? Does the franchise that signed the first supermax in WNBA history plan to surround the player it signed with anyone who can give her a real minute of rest? Or did last Friday in Dallas already answer that question? The home opener tips off at 6:30. Indianapolis better have learned something.